Is that a monkey? Oh, fuck. I'm okay. Ow. Hello people of the Earth, stars, Venus, and Mars. My name is TimeLord1452 and welcome back to my channel. And I have just returned from a mysterious island, untouched by man, with vast landscapes and creatures that will fill your heart with fear. So, I figured to celebrate the return from that ungodly island, I review a movie about another ungodly island. So without further ado, let's review Kong Skull Island. So this 2017 reboot stars Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, John C. Reilly, John Goodman, and of course, Samuel L. Jackson. So in Kong Skull Island, a government expedition to chart a newly discovered island turns deadly when the massive inhabitants begin killing off the expedition team, and we learn how one of these massive inhabitants, named Kong, became king. Now this movie is the second installment in the MonsterVerse cinematic universe that started with 2014's Godzilla. I know what you're gonna say, they're copying Marvel. But remember, the Kaiju or Godzillaverse existed way before Marvel even thought of having a cinematic universe. This Kaiju-verse is simply rebooted is all. Yeah, that sounds worse. Now, even though Godzilla and King Kong exist in the same universe, these two movies are polar opposites from each other, which you would expect in a cinematic universe. I wouldn't be surprised if this is such a drastic change because of the backlash from fans about how Godzilla did not only have a lack of appearance in the film, but also a lack of monster fights. But my god, is all of it made up for in this movie. Every other scene is either Kong or the human protagonists fighting off giant monsters, these mutated forms of evolution, and it is entirely kick-ass, and it is the movie's strongest leg. However, most of the monster fighting scenes between the first fight with Godzilla and when they meet up with John C. Reilly's character are sort of filler. It doesn't really progress the story along, but it's still entertaining nonetheless. It's just, it feels more like a video game where as you progress to the next level, you have a new creature you fight in a new environment. Now, is this a particularly bad thing? No, like I said, it still works. Now let's dive into the characters. First we have Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson, who are coincidentally also in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Of course, Tom Hiddleston playing Loki, and Brie Larson, who has now been cast to play Captain Marvel. What I can say about these two characters is they are very generic. They're pretty bland. The dialogue that comes out of their mouths is not only generic, but it's also very cliche. Although Tom Hiddleston's character does bear some character traits from the 1933 Jack Driscoll. Next we have Samuel L. Jackson playing Samuel L. Jackson, who of course is the bad motherfucker. Really, his performance is no different in this movie than it has been in any other movie. Is that a bad thing? Well, no, it's Samuel L. Jackson who's the bad motherfucker. Now throughout this movie, his mindset is basically to kill Kong and kill everything else on the island for killing his men. As Jackson described it himself, he is Ahab looking for his white whale. Next we have John Goodman, who plays an operative from the government organization of Monarch that appeared in the Godzilla film. And that little detail right there is the connecting point between Kong Skull Island and Godzilla. John Goodman's character is a little bit more interesting because we learn more about his backstory and his relations to another certain monster. He is willing to risk the lives of others to prove that monsters exist. But he's not really doing it so much as for the reason of we're the shady government, we're trying to keep things under wraps. It's more of this is something more personal for him, just to kind of prove to everyone that he was not crazy. Okay, so now we have John C. Reilly. Now when the trailers dropped for this, where they first showed him, I was very nervous. I didn't know if he was going to be someone whose humor would very much affect the entire movie, or if he would be someone who'd be distracting, or his humor just wouldn't work in general and he'd be an annoying character. And now that I've seen the movie, I can say he definitely steals the show. He is a significant character who really helps move the plot along. He's also a little bit of an exposition dump, and his personality is a little bit all over the place. And all in all, I thought he was a pretty interesting character. Now, there are two groups that I want to mention. The first one is the soldiers, and they're actually some of the most interesting characters because we learn a lot about them. The second group is the inhabitants of the island. They do absolutely nothing and are incredibly forgettable. Now let's talk about the inhabitants of the island because they are the highlight of this movie. First off, you have Kong. He has a new design. He is massive. He stands upright. He He's not as big as Godzilla yet though. He stands actually at about 1/3 his size. And I thought he was very well animated. The fur, his face, great motion capture, and even he has like small details on his hands. Now Kong in this movie is not so much a feared god as he is a guardian king. He is noble to the environment. Those that are docile creatures he will protect. Those that are vicious creatures he will attack, or if he's just hungry. Now the rest of the inhabitants of the island are a little bit different. Very cool in design. They're not just giant creatures, and they're not just prehistoric creatures. They are these new evolved life forms that take on the characteristics of both plant and animal. Now one of the problems with the creatures is some of them feel like that they were shoehorned in. Like, we have to have as many creatures as possible, just put them somewhere. And when we see them, it's not like in Peter Jackson's where we see the environment interacting with itself. In this case, it's just them by themselves. Mainly the two that I have the biggest problems with are the bark mantis beetle, I can't remember the exact name of it, and the mire squid. To be honest, I actually did like that scene, but it felt unnecessary. So next is the cinematography. It is beautiful. Even though most of it is digital or CGI, it's really creative, especially the bombing scene. I hate to say that the part where they're dropping bombs on the island is like one of my favorite parts because it just looks so cool. And even like that whole classic Apocalypse Now shot where you see the helicopters coming in, this is like even on the poster. It's beautiful shots. It's very warm and vibrant in color. However, that sun shot is also reused twice. I know it's not a very big thing, it's just something that I noticed and something I feel like just kind of got on my nerves a little bit. So to sum up everything, this movie has a few issues. Is it bad though? No. It is very entertaining, especially if you're going in to just watch giant monsters battle each other, or humans battle giant monsters. This is a perfect movie for you. I found it incredibly enjoyable. The cinematography is amazing. The acting from the biggest cast, not so much, but from everyone else, I would say they definitely made an impact. As far as character, story, and dialogue, you're probably not going to be as satisfied. But from my opinion, and from what I have seen, Kong Skull Island bent the nail, more or less.
Careful next time.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this review, break that like button in half, subscribe right here to see more. Follow me on Twitter at TimeLord1452. And until next time, I hope you have enjoyed. Allons-y.